Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi Theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we've got a nice little animated effect for you today. We've got a section here and the background image is sort of scrolling up and down in the background there. And that's a great little eye-catching effect. That's going to get people's eyeballs on it pretty quickly if you do that. And on top, we've got a little call to action module with a title, a bit of text and a button they can click on. This is really easy to do. Got to do a little bit of coding for this today, but don't let that put you off. Any code that I write, I'll put down below the video as usual, and you're welcome to copy, paste it, use it how you will. Okay, well let's get started. I'm going to enable the visual builder so we can build on the front end here. Okay, I'm going to go down, I'm going to hit the little blue button to add a new section. I'm going to make mine a regular section. You could actually use a full width for this today, depending on what module you want to put on the top of it. I'm going to put one row. Divi comes as standard with all these light grey modules here. I'm actually going to use an image module for mine today, but this will work with anything you want. But for the first little row and module we put in an image. That way it's going to be in the background there. And let's choose the image that we want. I guess I'll use the one I had before. That seemed to work absolutely fine. Great. So now I'm actually going to make this row full width and take away any padding top and bottom so that it acts as a proper background image. To do that, I'm just going to save my little image here. I'm going to go into the row, the green tab, green for a row, blue for a section, dark for a module. I'm going to go into my row. I'm going to take away any padding on the top and bottom in the spacing. Simply going to put a 0 in there. Hit the chain, it'll do the opposite side. And I want to make this row full width now. To do that, I'm going to get out of spacing, still on the design tab, go to sizing, pull the width up to 100. I'm going to copy that and paste it down below in the max width. And we've now got a full width row there. You can just type in that second 100 if you prefer than copy and pasting. Great, so we've got a nice background image. We still got a bit of space up top here, so let's take that away. It's probably in our section. So I'm going to save my changes. I'm going to go into the blue tab for the section. I'm going to go over to design and spacing. And I'm going to take away any padding, top and bottom. There we go, and you can see that image is buffered up against our header there. Fantastic. I don't want mine to be quite as deep as that. I want it to be about half this screen size here and perhaps scroll up and down when we put something on top of it. So to make that happen, I'm going to go back into my row. Again, that's the green tab. I'm going to go over to advanced. I'm going to go down to visibility and I'm going to turn my horizontal and vertical overflow to hidden on both of these because I'm going to shrink this row and I don't want anything to be seen that falls outside of where I shrink it to. So let's go into our design now and we'll go to sizing and I can give it a fixed height. I'm going to give mine say 500 pixels. Simply put in the 500, it'll put in the pixels for you. So let's just save that. And as you see when I've saved it, it's jumped back up. With the overflow, sometimes when you're in the builder side of things, it will spill out like this, and so it looks like it's not cropped, but it is actually. So we've got this much of our image. Obviously, you set the height to whatever you want. Great. Well, we've got our little background image in there. What I'm going to do is put something on top of it now. So I'm going to go into my row. I want to make sure there's no gutters on there, so I'm going to go into my design and to sizing, and we've got custom gutters width. What gutters are is when you put a row in, gutters are the space at the sides, top and bottom. So I want to take mine down to 0 because I don't want any space in between these things. So I'm going to duplicate this little row in a second because we've given it all the parameters we need for our next one. So I'm going to say use custom gutter width in the design tab and sizing. I'm going to flip that to yes. I'm going to take this down to 0 so there's no gutters, or actually 1 is the lowest. That's fine. Great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to clone that row. If you're having problems and don't like this flickering back and forth like this, what you can do is go to back end mode, hit the little purple button down here, little icon on the left hand side, it'll tell you it's wireframe or back end mode. There it is, just click on it. It'll take you to the back end there. There's our section, there's our row, there's our little image in it. I want to clone this row. Like I say, you can do this on the front end or the back end, whichever you prefer. Little 2 squares to clone it. I'm going to get rid of that image module. And inside, I'm actually going to put a call to action for mine. Here we are, there's a call to action down here. Purely it's got a button. Like I say, this will work with any module you want. Put in what you want your title to say up there, obviously. Then what you want your button to say down below. And any text that you want to put in there. Let's get a bit of lorem ipsum. I've just copied a bit of lorem ipsum dummy text there, and we put it in there. You can flip back to whichever view you want here. We're on wireframe at the moment. You can hit the little desktop if you want to go back to desktop mode. Okay, and there it is, just down the bottom there. And what I want to do with this, I want to make it exactly the same height as our row above, and then I'm going to scoot it up. So we've got to go down. You may have noticed that there's no button there. To make sure there's a button there, let's go down. We'll go into the link and just put your URL in there. Once you put a URL in there, the button will show up at the bottom. Fantastic. Okay, well let's go over. I'm going to style this up a little bit here. So I'm going to go to my design. I'm going to go to the text. I want it all in the middle. That is at the moment. I want it light in color. That's fine. The title text, I'm going to make a lot bigger. And as you may know, with Divi, you get a crazy amount of fonts. Just click on the fonts there, and to audition one, just roll over it, and it'll give you an example of that font. I'm going to leave mine on the default today for expediency, but there's plenty of choice there. I'm going to make my title bold, and I'm going to make it a lot bigger. I think I might capitalize it. That's great. Let's make it say 60 pixels or something. There we go. I'm going to pop a little bit of box shadow on it, make it stand out a bit. The interior, I don't want spreading out quite as much as that, so I'm going to take my width down to maybe 50%. So still on the design tab, let's go up to sizing down here. And we've got width here. I'm going to drag this down to, let's see, I want mine about perhaps 60%, 70%, something like that. Obviously choose what's best for you. I'm going to take mine down to about 70% here. You can slide, you can type in a value, and you can increment up and down with the little arrows there. And of course I want this to be in the middle of the section. Great. I don't want a background color in there really. So I'm going to take that background color away, and it's going to sort of disappear into the background apart from the shadow there. Let's give that button a bit of color too. While we're on the design tab, we'll go down to our button, or up to our button obviously. There it is. I'm going to turn custom styles to on. Text color white's fine. Button background, let's make that purple. And common to most Divi modules, you can set a hover state by rolling over the dark writing up here. You'll see some little icons appear. Go to the thing that you want to affect, our button background in this case. If there's a little arrow there, there is. We can set a desktop state, background color purple, and when we hover over it, we can set a different color. Let's maybe put a blue in there perhaps. So when they hover over it, it'll turn blue. And that's common to most Divi modules. You can do that and set hover effects like that. Great, I'm going to take that border away. I don't want a white border on there. And let's just do that. And I don't want an icon. If you do want an icon, Divi's just teamed up with Font Awesome. There's an awful lot of icons to choose from here. You can go do a search to narrow it down. Or they've put a little button up here that if you click on it, It'll pop out into a large breakout box, makes it easier to scroll through all these icons, and there's an awful lot of them. But I'm not going to have an icon on mine today, so I'm going to turn that show button icon to off. Great. Now, like I say, I want to take that background away. Take the background away. I'm just going to go to the content. There's the background. There's the actual background color. You've got color, gradient, image, video, background pattern, or background mask. We're just using a color, or that's the default color they've put in there. I'm going to hit the little trash can here to get rid of that. Great. Now I know my row is 500 deep, so I want to scoot it up by 500 to put it on top of our little image here. Great, well let's save that. Now this little row we've got sitting here, I want to scoot it up on top of our one on top here. So to do that, we'll go into the row, little green tab. I'm going to go over design, spacing, and I'm going to use what they call negative margin to do this. To make negative margin, either just hit the little down arrow and it'll give you -1, or just type in minus or negative symbol and then whatever amount you want. I know that's 500, so if I go up by -500, it's sitting on top of our image there. Great. Well, I want to give it a bit of space at the top there. I can do that with a bit of padding, or I could actually do that in the module itself, but I think we should be able to do it here. I'm just going to undo that check because I only want a bit of padding on the top. So let's try 150. That's kind of central, maybe in a bit too much even. Let's 140 maybe. Obviously put yours where it works for you. So that's great. We've got our call to action over the top here. And I'm going to go into back-end mode now because we have to create a bit of CSS now to make that background image scroll up and down. So let's go into wireframe mode just so it's not flickering back and forth. Here's the actual image. I'm going to go into the image itself with a little cog right here. I'm going to go over to advanced, CSS IDs and classes. We'll give this a unique name so we can actually target it. So let's say B for background, I for image, SC for scroll. That's kind of my shorthand for background image scroll. You can call yours what you like. Kind of wants to mean something to you and it's got to be unique. So that's kind of my shorthand for background image scroll. That way when you look through the code you'll remember what's what. So let's save this. We'll go back to front end mode and we'll do a bit of coding. Okay. To do your coding today, we need to go to the additional CSS panel. So if you go down to your dashboard, go down to Appearance and Customize, that'll take us to this page here. Right at the bottom, there's an additional CSS panel. I've actually temporarily set this page as my home page using the home page settings here, just purely so that you can see what's going on when I'm coding. You don't need to do this, but if you want to see what's going on when you're coding, you can just set it as your home page here. You have to make sure that you've published this page or it will not show up in your list here. Okay, great. We're in our additional CSS. Let's go in there. Let's move that CSS that's there down. That's for portfolio filters I created earlier, and we'll start from scratch. Good idea to give code a title up here. To create a title, it's // in between the two stars. Anything that's written in there will not be read as code, so it's great for titles and notes and things like that. So let's say background image scroll. Okay, let's start writing some code. Okay, well we gave our image there, the background image, a class, and the class name was background image scroll. I seem to remember BIMSC. Okay, so let's put that in there. All classes have to have a dot or a period in front of them, so make sure you put a dot or a period in front. Then we can open and close some curly brackets, and inside we've got to tell it what we want it to do. Well, we're going to create an animation today, so I'm going to say animation colon, and we'll give the animation a name, and I'm going to call it image SC, the animation name, and we've got to create that animation in a minute. Image scroll, And I want it to take probably 30 seconds to go from the top to the bottom. Obviously you put the timing in that suits you. And I actually want it to be infinite. I want it to keep doing it. So I'm going to say infinite and put a semicolon. Great, well now we've actually got to create the keyframes for the animation itself. So I'm going to go down one. I'm going to say at keyframes, and don't forget this code will be down below the video for anybody that wants to just copy and paste it. I'm going to say at keyframes, and then the name we gave it, which is image scroll or image SC. Let's open some new curly brackets, and in between we can start putting percentages of the 30 seconds. So when the page loads, I'm going to start from 0%, which is as soon as the page loads, I can open and close some more curly brackets. And I'm going to say margin top 0, because I want it to start off exactly where it is. So I'm going to put a 0 in there, semicolon. Now I'm going to copy this twice. Control C to copy. I'm going to drop down. I'm going to paste it once. I'm going to paste it twice. And you'll notice that our percentages here are inside two curly brackets, one at the top, one at the bottom. So we're left with two sets of curly brackets at the bottom. Make sure that your percentages are inside those two curly brackets there. Great. Okay, and let's go down to the second one. We'll make this 50%, or halfway through our 30-second cycle there, which will be the 15-second mark. And I'm going to say margin top. We know this is 500, so I'm going to say negative 500, so that image is going to scroll up to the bottom. So I'm going to say negative 500 pixels, or px. And you may notice as soon as I put that 500 in there, it started scrolling. And at 100%, I want it to be back to 0 again. So that'll keep it nice and smooth. So at 0, when the page loads, it's going to start where it should do. At halfway through, 50%, which will be 15 seconds, it's going to go up to the top. And then it's going to take the other 15 seconds to come down again. Obviously adjust the time to how you want it. I want to make sure we publish our changes now. And actually, before we came to the additional CSS here, I don't know if I mentioned, you want to make sure that you've actually saved your changes on the page here. Let's go back to wireframe mode. If yours isn't animating straight away, just make sure you've got the page saved. And we should be good to go. Great, and like I say, this code's down the bottom there. So once we've done this and published it, we can go back to our page over here. We've already saved it, so we can exit the Visual Builder. And there it is. We've got our little animated background image on our section there. And that's going to keep going and keep going. And like I say, that's a great little feature to have on your site. That's going to get people's attention when the animation starts like that. And of course they can read the banner and they can click on the little button there, call to action. So there you go guys, there's how to create a scrolling image background for your section. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie with System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.